Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the parliament and these are the topics that we have scheduled for the discussion under this particular series. Like starting with the introduction part, organization of parliament, composition of two houses, system of elections to Lok Sabha, duration of two houses, membership of parliament, presiding officers of parliament, leaders in parliament, sessions of parliament, devices of parliamentary proceedings, legislative procedure in parliament, joint sitting of two houses, budget in parliament, multifunction role of parliament, ineffectiveness of parliamentary control, position of Rajya Sabha, parliamentary privileges, sovereignty of the parliament. Okay, so these are the topics that we had scheduled. If we talk about the topics that we have covered so far, so the introduction part, organization of parliament, composition of two houses, system of elections to Lok Sabha, duration of two houses, membership of parliament, presiding officers of parliament, leaders in parliament, sessions of parliament, and the topic on which we have been discussing is the devices of parliamentary proceedings. And the remaining topics are the legislative process in parliament, joint sitting of two houses, budget in parliament, multifunction role of parliament, ineffectiveness of parliamentary control, position of Rajya Sabha, parliamentary privileges, and the sovereignty of parliament. All right. So this is the picture that we have created so far. So basically, we will start from where we had left in the previous one, but I think that we must start it with the resolution. Why? Because in the previous lecture, we had just taken the, you can say, the overview of the resolution. All right. We haven't discussed it. Okay. But before this, let me remind you several things. Like in the previous lecture, we had discussed about the special mention. Okay. We have discussed about the half an hour session, the 2 hour session. Okay. And how much time allotted to them in a week by the speaker. We have discussed the censor motion versus the no confidence motion. Okay. So these are the things that having the relevant importance. Okay. So kindly revise them in the well enough manner. Why? Because if you haven't revised them, so when you will face your examination, you find out that the things in the options are having the similar meaning. Okay. Why? Because you haven't cleared your concepts. So this thing could be happen with you. And this is a dangerous thing for the student who is preparing for the competitive exams. Okay. Because the competitive exams are there just to eliminate you. Remember, competitive exams are not there to select you. They are there to eliminate you. Okay. So please do not go with the flow as the others going on. Okay. Why? Because you will be eliminated as them. Okay. So if you want to get selected, just remember that the concept must be clear. Okay. So if we talk about today's lecture, so we will start it with the resolution part. Okay. And we will continue with the resolution. We will see the different aspects of the resolution. Okay. So we had discussed the members can move the resolution to draw the attention of the House or the governments to the matters of general public interest. Okay. So we had seen that basically if the House is in the session, whether it is the budget session, whether it is the monsoon session, whether it is the winter session. So we had discussed whenever the House in the session. And during the discussion, if a member feels that there is a matter which is of the general public importance, then you can say member could draw the attention of the House by moving the resolution. Okay. Thereafter, the next thing that we had seen in it is the discussion on the resolutions is strictly relevant to and within the scope of the resolution. It means that whatever the discussion would be happen on that particular resolution, this must be in accordance with the resolution and the matters contained. Okay. Out of the resolution matter could not be discussed while the resolution is passed. A member who has moved a resolution and you can say who has introduced an amendment or change to the resolution, they cannot withdraw the same except by the leave of the House. Okay. It means that once the thing started, the thing is need to be finished off. Okay. So that's the thing. All right. So now let's move forward. So here if we look at here, what we are seeing, that the resolutions are basically classified into the three categories. So there are the categories of the resolution. First category is private members resolution. Okay. So we had discussed the private member is the person who is the member of the house, but he is not holding any ministry. Okay. Thereafter, it is the government resolution and then the statutory resolution. So if we discuss it one by one, so the first is the private member resolution. It is the one that is moved by the private member who is the member of the house, but other than a minister, not holding any ministry. It is discussed only on alternate Fridays and in the afternoon sitting, which is also known as post-lunch sitting. Okay. Thereafter, the next one is the government resolution. It is one that is moved by a minister. It can be taken up any day from Monday to Thursday. Okay. So this is the, you can just selected dates for the discussion, and it is the selected date for the discussion of the private member resolution. After this, the statutory resolution, if we talk about it, so there is a liberty. It can be moved either by the private member or a minister. Okay. If we talk about the first two, so they are specific. Why I'm saying specific? Because private member could be moved by only the private member. The government could only be moved by the minister. But statutory resolution having the liberty, or we can say having the relaxation. Okay. Like it is not required to move by the specific person only. It is so called because it is always stable in pursuance of a provision in the constitution or an act of the parliament. So that's why it is having the liberty that it is not specifically required the resemblance to be passed by the one member on. Okay, this is the thing. So our resolutions are different from motions from following prospects. Like first thing that we could see here is that all resolutions came into the category of substantive motions. That is to say, every resolution is a particular type of motion. Okay, it means that resolutions are under the substantive or subcategories of the motions. Okay, so every resolution which is passed is having the particular type of motion, or you can say having the resemblance to the motion at some area. All motions need not to be necessarily substantive. Okay, so you can say, suppose if you learn the reasoning, let me explain it to you very clearly. If you learn the reasoning, so we know that there are some Venn diagrams. You will be aware about it. Okay. If not, then you can see it here. Okay. So in Venn diagram, there are certain categories. Okay. So suppose if I say the square denotes the resolution. For example, this square denotes the resolution. And then I say the circle denotes the motions. Okay. And if the diagram look like this. Okay. Then what is showing on here? This denotes the resolution. This denotes the motion. So if we go by the statement like the resolutions are the substantive motions. Okay, that is a thing. And we know motions, or you can say all motions, not required to be resolution. It means that if we look at the motion areas, so some of the motions could be the resolution, but all motions could not be the resolution. Similarly, if we look at it here, that I have told you, all resolutions are basically the substantive motion. So here you can say it is covered under this. Okay. So from this, you can say the recent example, you could understand it better. All right. After this, a third point is here. Further, all motions are not necessarily put to vote of the House, whereas all resolutions are required to be voted upon. Okay, like we had discussed, if the motion is of the half an hour discussion, okay, or you can say the 2 hour discussion, okay, and if we talk about the uh, dilatories and all, so we know that basically these are for the discussion point of view only. Okay, there is no voting prescribed in this. Okay, but if we talk about the resolutions, then the resolutions in the field of resolution, it is compulsory to put them for voting. Okay. After this, the another thing that we have is the youth parliament. Okay. The scheme of youth parliament was started on the recommendations of Fourth All India Whips Conference. Okay. If we talk about whip, we know that this is mentioned in the constitution. Okay. And if we talk about whip, so we know it is the office of, or you can say office prescribed in every political party. Okay. And we know that the prime responsibility of whip is to monitor and controls the activities of the respective political party. Okay. So basically, fourth All India Whips Conference prescribed for the youth parliament scheme. All right. And what were the objectives of them? First, to acquaint the younger generations with practices and procedures of parliament. If we talk about the acquaint, so basically it is introduced. Okay. Like you have in your school, colleges, in whichever area you are learning right now. Okay. You have listened this term very much, you can say frequency of times that the youth must participate in the politics. Okay. And various places you have even seen the hashtags like this. Okay. Youth to politics and all. All right. Why? Because we know India is the country with the highest youth population in the world. Okay. And if we talk about the youth, so the minds are generally updated and innovative. So it will be a great thrift to the country's administration in the political way if the youth participates in the politics. Okay. So first thing is that if the youth is required to be participated in the politics, then at least they having the basic awareness of the practices and procedures of the parliament. Okay. Then only they would be able to define that what they are required to do once they get selected to the parliament. Okay. Thereafter, to imbibe, or you can say to indulge or injected the spirit of discipline and tolerance, cultivating characters in the minds of. Okay. Because in the parliament, and if you compare it with the youth. Okay. So let me give you a very frequent example. Suppose you are sitting in your classroom. Okay. And you propose something like we should do this, and then some of the class members stands in your favor to doing this thing, and some of the class students says no, we should not do this and all. Okay. So here we have got the condition of being in favor and being in against. So we have got that situation, being in favor and being in against. All right. So if we just look at yourself, what would be your first reaction? Don't try to put you in the idle case. Okay, I will discuss and all. No, because if we talk about it true, if we talk about it, and you can say if we talk about it in a truly sense, so you will try to emphasize your discussion on them, those who are in the against. Okay, and generally we know in the class we have a little bit fight over it and all. Okay, so this is the thing. If we compare it same with the parliament, so suppose you are the minister or the member, and then you purpose something to be discussed and to be done. Then what will happen? Again, the debate would be there, and some will be in your favor, some will be in your against. Okay. So the same thing which you were doing in your classroom, could you do it on there? No. You could not beat the front 1%. Okay. Those who are not in your favor, you could not say, oh, I'm not no longer your friend and all. Okay. These things are not applicable. So it means that the politics requires a discipline and the tolerance. Okay. And please do not take it to the general way. Most of you will say we have seen the politicians, we have seen the parliamentary proceedings on the TV, and we have seen that how disciplined and how tolerant you are. Do not get this. What we are saying, discipline. Discipline means that you must be able to put forward your opinion, but with a discipline. Not like the same thing you did in your classroom. Otherwise, what will happen? The presiding officer will say, okay, Mr. U, XYZ, just stand up. There is a gate. You could go outside. And even, trust me, the presiding officers having the power to suspend the candidate and suspend the member from the House proceedings. Okay. Tolerance means if someone are not in your favor, then you are required to convince him. Okay. So this should be done. Third thing, if we look at here, to inculcate in the student community the basic values of democracy and to enable them to acquire a proper perspective on the functioning of democratic institutions. Okay, like how does the India becomes the world's largest democracy, and what are the things, what are the procedures, what are the provisions we have through which the democratic institutions works on. And the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs provides necessary training and encouragement to the states in introducing the scheme. So we can say the youth parliament was totally designed so that the youth could get awareness about the political system of this country and even could generate the skills and interest participating. Okay. Thereafter, after this, we have finished the devices of the parliamentary proceedings, and now we are going to look at the legislative procedure in the parliament. Okay, because we know if we talk about the division of powers in the government, so we know there are the three divisions. Legislative, then administrative or executive, and then comes the judiciary. Okay, so if we talk about the legislative, then the biggest legislature of this country is the parliament, right? Okay, because the parliament having the power to make the rules, regulations, passes the legislatures on the national basis. Okay, so basically, if we talk about this legislative process in the parliament, so we could see that the legislative procedure is identical in both the houses of parliament. It means that it is very much similar. It is very much similar in both the houses of parliament. Okay. Every bill has to pass through the same stages in each the house. So you can say, like, if we talk about the stages, first is the presentation. Second one is the approval. Or admission. We know that the presiding officer is required to give the approval or the admission so that the other thing could be happen. Thereafter, we know discussion would be there. Thereafter, discussion, voting would be there. Thereafter, passing or failure would be decided. Then what will happen? If pass, then president consent is required. Okay. So the stages are similar. Whether we take the example of Lok Sabha, okay, whether we take the example of Rajya Sabha. First, the bill will be presented, then the presiding officer's approval on the discussion is required. If the approval granted, the discussion would happen. Then the voting would be happen in one house, either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Then the bill will be handed over to the another house, whether the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha, for the discussion and voting part. After this, the passing or failure would be decided on the basis of voting. Okay, if the maximum votes are in the favor, the bill would be passed. If not, the bill would be failed. And after passing, the bill would be sent for the president for the consent, and then only it would become a legislation, or you can say act. Okay, so this process is same. After this, a bill is a proposal for legislation and it's become an act or law when duly enacted. Okay, it means that it is required to get passed by both of the houses, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Okay, so the bill introduced in parliament are of two kinds. First is the public bills and then the private bills. Okay, and if we took them further, so these are known as the government bills and the private members bills respectively. Okay, so do not get confused. Like we talk about public bills, so it is for the general public. If we talk about the private bills, so it's for the specific people. No, not like this. The public bills are basically presented by the ruling party. Okay, and the private bills are basically by the member of opposition generally. Okay, so both are governed by the same general procedure and pass through the same stages in the house. They differs in various aspects, which we will show in the upcoming table 3. Okay, the bills in the parliament can also be classified into the 4 categories. So the bills having the 4 categories. All right. So what are these categories? The first category that we have is the ordinary bill. Okay, ordinary bills means no specific reason is there. So which are concerned with any matter other than the financial subject, because the financial subjects are having the specific field. Okay. So in normal terms, we can say the ordinary bills are basically for the general fields or general purposes. Okay. Thereafter, the money bills. So which are concerned with the financial matters like the taxation policy, like the public expenditure and all. Okay. So these are the money bills and these having the specific field. In terms of monetary. Okay. Thereafter, the financial bills. So these are also concerned with the financial matters, but are different from the money bills. Why? Because they are having the financial field. Okay. While the money bill having the monetary field. Okay. After this, constitution amendment bills, which are concerned with the amendment or changes in the provisions of the constitution. Okay, so these are the 4 categories of, you can say, the bills which could be introduced in the parliament. Okay, just write them down again so that we could keep it in our mind for a longer duration. 4 categories of bills if we talk about them. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, first is the ordinary bills. Thereafter, the financial bills. Thereafter, the money bills. And then comes the constitutional amendment bills. Okay, so these are the 4 categories of bills that are presented in the parliament. So the constitution has lays down the separate procedure for the enactment of 4 types of bill. It means that there are specific procedures in passing of bills as per nature and meaning, and not having general procedure. Okay, so remember, the constitution having the specific procedure in passing of a bill as per the nature. It means that whether the bill is ordinary, money, financial, or constitutional amendment bill, and not having the general procedure, it means not all the 4 bills could be passed in the same way. Okay, and the procedure with regard to the ordinary bills, money bills, and financial bills are explained here. And the procedure with regard to the constitutional bills, basically we will see in the chapter 10 that we had in the amendment of constitution. Okay, so basically we had seen the amendment of constitution, in which we had seen the 3 types of majority. Okay, like the simple majority, like the special majority, like the special majority with half of the states. With half of states rectification. Okay, like if we talk about the simple majority, we know that only the more than 50% members must be in favor, so the bill would be passed. If we talk about the special majority, so at least 2/3 strength along with the 50% members must be in favor. If we talk about the special majority with half of the states rectification, so it means at least the 50% members along with 2/3 of the strength, and at least 14 states must be in favor of the passing of the bills. Why? Because we know in India we have the how many states? 28 states. So if we talk about the half, so 14 states would be the answer. Right? So this is the thing. So students, basically in this lecture we have covered till here. In the next lecture we will continue from here. Till then, just revise the facts and figures that all we have discussed in this lecture and be ready for the another lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture, and what we say thank you.